Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon.
Chris Graham.
Me, Todd Novak. Hi, how you doing? And we got a special guest knob.
Jimmy Nielsen from Rey FX. ¿Qué pasó?
Hola. So let me explain this real quick. I'm not making fun. I'm not jesting. So Jimmy is from my old area. We both came from Southern California.
Califas, SoCal.
Right. So there is a specific cadence and musicality when you start talking Southern California. You don't have to be speaking Spanish. It
comes out. It's fun because I lived in Cincinnati for 16 years now, since 2000. And when we go back to Cali, my wife always makes fun of me because she's like, the moment you start hanging out with your friends, she's like, the Californian comes back. And I'm like, what accent? There's no accent. We don't have an accent. And I go, I don't talk like, dude, hey, what's up and stuff. She's like, no, you sound like a cholo surfer. And I'm like, a cholo surfer? What's that sound? She's like, you do. You just sound like a cholo surfer.
It's hard to put your finger on it, but it's true. The minute you started talking on the phone, I was like, wait a minute. Actually, was it on the phone? I saw your video, but then I was like, okay, maybe that's his like act or something. And then we started talking on the phone. I'm like, no, this guy's from California, specifically Southern California. And so I grew up in Orange County. Long Beach and Huntington Beach.
Yeah, LBC.
Yeah, and you were out in
El Monte, or El Monte.
El Monte.
El Monte, as might be pronounced out here.
Yeah.
You get to Ohio and you realize that Lima isn't really Lima, it's Lima.
Right.
And Salina is Salina.
Yeah. So. True. But it's funny because I'll, work and stuff, some of that stuff like slips out. Like I swear that I shouldn't even say this because no matter what, I'm going to end up sounding like an idiot here. But there are just sometimes I'll say stuff and I'll say like chale, and they're like, what?
Like, chale? Orale.
Oh, never mind. Forget it. But I had a ton of Spanish friends, and that's just a culture.
Yeah, and it's funny because you grow up out there, and you're just kids, in the neighborhood. You don't realize who the white kids are, who the Latino kids are, and stuff like that until you move away, and you're like, oh wait, okay, so and so, yeah, I guess he was really a white kid, but man, he talked like the homeboys and stuff, So, and I mean, my name is Jimmy Nielsen, James Nielsen. It's not very Hispanic sounding, but my dad's from Denmark,
right?
So that's where the Nielsen comes from. But I was actually born in Mexico, so it's kind of a weird.
Yeah. That's a funky sandwich right there.
Yeah. A friend of mine calls me queso because I'm like, why do you call me queso? And he's like, well, cheese Danish is, in Spanish for cheese is queso, so you're queso. And I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, that works. So anyways, so that was cool. We were able to connect on that like right away. And I think we'll get into why Jimmy's here in a little bit. I'm not going to just give the whole dang thing away. But we are awful glad you're listening. I mean, there's nothing really more else to say than that. I'm stoked that you're listening, wherever you are. A minor shout out to the world.
Hello.
So it's one thing that's really amazing as we've been doing the podcast is when I go and check the stats and everything, it's like, oh, we just picked up people in Vietnam. Oh, we just picked up people in Bulgaria. And I was like, it's like, you don't really realize how big the world is because it feels so small.
It feels so small.
But then when you're just like, wait, there's some dude, like walking to school or something listening to this, that's awesome. It's incredible. I can't think of too many other mediums this day that allow you to do that so seamlessly. Mm-hmm. Even, internet is very controlled in other countries, so video is totally. Everybody doesn't have access to everything except podcasts, even the net, everybody doesn't have access to all of that. You know, it's bizarre. Anyways.
I think the closest thing 50 years ago was with ham radio.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Yeah, one cool thing is a surf band that I actually played in. We put up a few of our songs on where you can kind of, I wouldn't say it was open, not open source isn't the right word, but you pretty much allowed people to use your music without having to pay for it and stuff. And I was like, I'm making a dime on this stuff anyways, and it sounds like everything else that Dick Dale's ever made. But we found out that a podcast from Germany was actually using one of our songs as the intro. Huh. I had no idea what the podcast was about, what they were talking, but it was cool hearing about 30 seconds of our song, kicking it off and stuff.
What was the band?
That was Dr. Bombay and the Atomic Bachelor Pad.
There it is.
That's
awesome. There it is, man.
It's so fitting with your whole thing, man. But see, that's a whole other California thing. Like the weird, like, I don't know how else to call it, but like there is it's not gangster surf.
Surf punk is what we called it.
It's surf punk, yeah. But it's kind of changed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, anyway, I'm not going to get stuck.
I'm sorry. I'm
no.
I'm sorry.
Well, I don't run into a whole lot of people from where I'm from out here, so it's like when you do, and you know that not only are they from the same area, but culturally there are a lot of things shared. I mean, we can talk for hours on that, no doubt. Anyways, but we're not, because right now we're going to get into what's going on in your week musically. Jared.
Okay. So I've got several amplifiers at home, and today I was
You want a trophy or something? Or
I do have several amplifiers. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I like them. But today I figured out, I think my favorite sound ever is I have two orange 8030s, and I run them stereo, and with my stereo chorus pedal. I love that sound. The only thing I don't like about the orange 8030 is there's no effects loop. So even if there was, I got two of them. So how am I gonna run effects through an effects? I don't know how to do all that stuff. I'm very proficient in one thing in the guitar world, and we've talked about it forever. But as far as
whammy bar.
That's right.
Yeah.
But whoa, I can't help it.
Now you can't do. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, one of my pedal that I'm using that I like a lot is a reverb pedal. It's the Holy Grail.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with an Orange 8030, when you got that gain up, and it's all pre, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's no effects loop. It's like you have to turn the darn thing all the way down to 0 to just have a normal sounding reverb. But when you turn the gain down, you can turn the pedal, the reverb up.
Yep.
I'm talking. You guys know exactly what I'm saying, right? So that I'm stuck doing that. So what can I do to this pedal? Because I don't think I want to have the amps modded at all, because I don't want to change any of that.
Yeah, that's
so. That
you could just run one amp.
Oh.
Well,
I got a stereo chorus pedal at the end of everything.
You're not at Wembley. I mean,
know what you could do? This is crazy audio engineer speak. You could run both amps, one dry and one wet.
Right.
So you could have one amp that was specifically for reverb and just run that just crazy wet.
That's
then
true.
run your distorted amp, and then...
I got the AB pedals to do that. But the sound that I have now with this speaker over here and the other speaker on the other side of the room, and you find the sweet spot in the room to get the perfect stereo-ish, and I have the depth all the way up and the what do you call that, the whatever, all the way down. So it's not really a...
The what do you call it's all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what
anytime
the
the what do you call it's all the way down, you got to turn the whatchamacallit all the way up.
Yeah. But then you got to flick the whatever.
So it really
thingamajiggy.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't sound like a normal stereo chorus. It's just this weird, I don't know what the hell it is, but I love it, man. So that's what I've been kind of focusing on, other than what I do all day. So
right.
Now what's driving the gain? where do you have the gain all the way up on the amp?
On the amps.
On the amp itself.
Yeah, I have all the settings perfect. You know, the cloning each other. You know, are the same, so they sound the same.
Have you thought about not running the gain on your amps?
I want the natural amp sound.
Okay, so you want the amp to get pushed.
I want the amp to get pushed at the amp. Now, to go beyond that, I do have an Ibanez, and also I have I don't run them at the same time.
Cracked mirror Iceman?
I have a Maxon, and I have an Ibanez tube screamer.
Right.
The Maxon's a little more powerful than the Ibanez tube screamer, but the Ibanez tube screamer is all you really need on top of natural amp gain. And I don't even have the level on that all the way up. I have it maybe in the middle, but it gives it that a little extra. All you need is a little extra, you know, to get the sound that I like. So
yeah, and so for reference, you're a classic rock guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just am.
No, it's okay. You can be that. Be the classic rock. All right. Well, cool,
That's my
man.
go-to when I play the guitar. Anyway,
Yeah,
but I
everybody's
like a lot
got
of
a
different
go-to.
stuff, but
Yeah. All right, Chris, what's going on?
So me and my wife went out and got pizza with the kids the other day, and this guy walked up, and his name's John Morgan, and he lives in the same town I do, and he's the best acoustic guitar player I've ever heard face to face.
Really?
He's this fingerstyle guy. What? And I'm 34. I've been playing guitar for about 21 years or so, and I'm gonna totally get some guitar. I'm gonna hire this guy because he does guitar lessons.
Nice.
So I'm gonna, as a 34-year-old, start taking guitar lessons.
That's fantastic.
He doesn't know it yet. So if he's listening, I'll be calling you soon, John.
I'm getting some from my next door neighbor. Here, her dad is the house musician is a house jazz guitar player at the refinery.
Oh wow,
he's legit.
Huh?
And I love. I don't love like deep, heavy jazz guitar. So there's weird things. Like there's like jazz purists, you know, where it's like, this is my $7,000 arch top. No, right? I like the almost the swingy style kind of think about like Django, like gypsy swing kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I like not bluegrass, but you know, the like ragtime.
Okay, ragtime.
Like little I would love to learn how to just go like, just give me like a box of ragtime chords.
Now, I've got the perfect band for you to listen to if you've not heard of them yet.
Okay.
The Two-Man Gentleman Band.
Okay.
Ragtime. I mean, it's the most fun beer drinking. In fact, they've got a song called Fancy Beer.
Yeah.
And it's the true ragtime, straw hat wearing, you know, just the Two-Man Gentleman Band. You have to listen. Upright bass, and the other guy plays a banjo, and he'll mix up some guitar once in a while. They actually do a version of Ghostbusters in ragtime. Yeah. And it's outstanding.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but anybody that's seen, like, Jared, it'll be on the podcast, so you can reference that if you want. He's taking notes. This is permanent. Have you guys seen The Sweet and Lowdown? No. Oh my gosh. Okay. We were familiar with Django Reinhardt. Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. That movie is based on this guy whose arch nemesis essentially was Django Reinhardt. It's played by Sean Penn, and he is this savant player who is a train wreck in real life. Every bad decision he takes, every single one. And it's that classic, like, you hear about some of the old jazz musicians, you're like, this guy was a prodigy, but he liked heroin. He liked not only did he like heroin, he liked robbing for heroin more than being awesome at, saxophone.
It's more of a challenge.
Right. So it is that kind of thing, and he was just plagued by this guy's better than me. It's a fantastic movie. But the music in that is really, unbelievable.
I really like Sean Penn a lot.
Yeah, he kills in that flick. Anybody who plays guitar should watch The Sweet and Low Down. It is absolutely fantastic.
Is it on Netflix?
You know, I don't know if it is on Netflix.
I thought Crossroads was one of the only.
Wait a minute. Isn't that Ralph Macchio?
Yes,
thing?
with Steve Vai. Yeah.
Oh God, you did not just say that.
Crossroads.
Steve Vai at his best. I saw I accidentally saw about 10 seconds of that flipping through the channels, and I was like, I couldn't do it fast.
And 25 years ago it was cool, so that's when I saw
can like that. You can like that.
25 years ago.
The Crossroads.
25 years ago, not now. I haven't seen it since then, so
Yeah.
maybe I feel the same way you do.
I think you would. Watch it. See if you can make it through without
Nah,
gagging.
that's cool. I'm just going to take your word for it, my man.
Anyhow, so yes, cool.
Yeah.
Lessons. So like when you're saying finger style, sorry, I totally hijacked your.
Oh, you're fine.
man.
You're fine. He generally plays in standard and has I think he's got
like
the
James
long
Taylor kind of guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Is he like Pat Metheny?
I don't think so.
that-
He does a little bit of everything. He's just super versatile and super talented.
Yeah.
I've never when I was 17, I saw him play a concert, and it blew my mind. It was doing the thing where he's fretting notes but also playing harmonics but he's fretting and then playing the harmonic above it, and the whole song is that. So this guy's crazy.
That makes me think of something. So when you're watching videos on YouTube, or actually not even, forget about YouTube, just Instagram, just on Instagram, it seems like there is a massive, I don't know how to say this without saying the word that I don't want to say. You'll imagine it in your head, but it's like this, oh yeah, watch me do my chops shredding even more than you. It's right? And it's acoustic guys. There's this is 10-finger tapping and harmonics with my elbow and
Sort of Andy McKee,
what the hell?
wannabes type of thing.
Right, and then it's my 8-string shreddability will shred all over you, and it's kind of weird because it's either you're either seeing a pedal or somebody going here's
Black
5
may
seconds
or
of
may
me
not.
just going it's whatever that is. It's kind of weird right now. It's that is the venue for that thing. And hey, look, I can't do it. I'm not a shredder. I am not a shredder. I am a rhythm guy, and I just that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I appreciate these people's talents, but it's just kind of weird because it's that is the boat to jump on right now.
You get a lot of views.
It gets attention.
But you know what's odd about, and I'm going to piss off a bunch of people by saying this, and I don't care.
Okay.
But you take those guys and you put them in a band situation where it's all right, let's just jam. Let's just come up with something. Let's just start jamming. And they're lost. I knew the best shredders, and sitting there oh my God, if we got him in the band, it would be so great. And this guy is awesome, and we're going to do all this. And you get them, and you're and everybody's in the groove and stuff, and it's good. And they're sitting there looking at their guitar like they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And granted, I'm generalizing with this and stuff, but there's guys that are technically so proficient, they're so good at the technique, but when it comes to just let loose and just play, they're lost.
Yeah.
There was a trio of 3 guys that made that work, though. There was L.D. Miola, right? And then the other 2 guys that are not coming to my head, so help me out.
I kind of recall what you're saying.
You remember that was about 20 years ago they did this thing? They played acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
All
They're
3
great.
of them had one. I mean, that's the only situation where that actually worked. But I totally support what he just said.
Yeah.
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 Anyhow, so Jimmy, what do you got going on in your music world right now?
So actually shifting gears from the surf punk kind of rockabilly-ish scene, the surfabilly, whatever you want to call it. getting back into the desert rock stoner stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Little kind of Red Fang Sword-esque type music. So, gathering some musicians together, and it'll be a fun thing. So kind of shifting gears.
Fuzz for everybody.
Oh, yeah. So I actually get to finally use one of my pedals. When you're playing in a surf band, you don't get to use fuzz too much. So you start playing some of the doom. Probably not so much doomy stuff, because that could get a little.
You got like Caius and you can
Queens
and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Actually, kind of got me. Well, I've always really gotten into that music. A few guys that use the product that we'll talk about later.
KY.
Yeah. Kentucky Jelly? No.
There it is.
No, but we actually went out to this thing called Desert Generator out in Joshua Tree earlier this year. It was like in March.
Joshua Tree's beautiful.
And Brant Bjork from formerly of Caius put it on. Red Fang played. Who else was there? A few other just doom desert type bands and stuff. But it was a great scene because they, they had that music going on. Rolling Heavy that does these. It's pretty much like a van club of like these old 1970s vans, where they have like the dragons and
the bubble
barbarians
window in the
on the
back
side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like that whole vibe from the 70s, where you got that kind of Black Sabbath sludgy metal, just good rock and roll and stuff, So it's kind of like, man, I need to get back into that. So kind of changing gears from, playing the Dick Daley kind of, low straight jackets type stuff to, something a lot heavier.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun. And I've got a Reverend Bayonet.
Oh.
And it's got the Railhammer pickups on it. And that thing is just, it won't clean up for nothing. And it's good for that kind of music. You don't need it cleaning up at all. So.
Don't they come in Reverend? Doesn't Reverend Guitars make those?
Yeah, they actually make the Railhammers.
I met that fella at a wedding. I saw him he was at a wedding. I'm like, is that the Reverend Guitar guy? And I met him there, and it was him, because I met him a few years before that at a guitar show in Texas. So we started talking gear, and he said, did you pickups? He's like, yeah, the Railhammers do really well, and so I'm curious about that. I want to check that out. Yeah,
for heavier stuff, it's definitely really. But that was the one thing. Like we're doing.
Why do you
some
think
songs,
that is?
What's that?
That it's better for the heavy stuff.
In all reality, I am totally naive to pick up technology. But I mean, if you look on the lower strings, it is truly the top three strings. It's a rail going across it, and then it's got the individual ones for the higher strings. So I don't know if that wider, if that's an entire pickup going across. So maybe that adds a little bit of. I don't know. We can ask our pickup.
Is it wire or is it a slab?
It's focused on the bottom end, but you know what? I don't know a ton about rails, so I really couldn't. All I know is that the magnetic flux is totally different there. Mm-hmm. It's different, so of course it's going to sound different.
Yeah, it probably maintains proximity to the vibration of the string. I would think, since with just a point, when it's vibrating, it's going to be moving away from the string at certain points in the vibration. But with a rail,
it's constant.
Yeah.
Or like I said, it's less. It's more concentrated there.
Yeah. So for
less or more, I don't know what to say.
For chords and heavy stuff, it is great. But it's funny, like you try to just roll back the volume even just to clean it up, and even if you lower the gain and everything, it does not want to clean up at all. So that guitar is made for being dirty.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
What color is it? Tell us about it.
Oh, it's like an olive green, kind of military, army green color and stuff.
Is it flat or gloss?
Oh, flat.
Me likey.
Oh yeah, beautiful
Pick
guitar.
guard, black.
Beautiful.
Pick guard.
No pick guard.
No pick guard.
No pick guard. Yeah. Yeah, and then the Reverend also adds in that bass contour knob that they'll put in there. Boy, that's a really nice. I'm a Reverend geek. I actually own 3 of them. So.
Really?
Yeah, because for the rockabilly stuff and the surf stuff, they're really great also.
Yeah.
And I got influenced. First time I ever saw a Reverend was Unknown Henson
Oh
playing.
man.
and anybody that can go
Crazy.
from chicken picking on one song and straight up Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
the next song with the same guitar, I'm sitting there, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, instant fan of that guy when I saw him the first time
He is something.
a number of years ago. So
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just a talent.
What a character.
Oh yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. The Reverend stuff is interesting. I'm finding that anybody who has a Reverend has like at least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my friends, local in town, local musician, Keith Jenkins. Keith, if you're out there, what's up? He's got like 5 or 6 of them now. I mean, he's just like, that's it. I'm on.
Yeah.
Reverend. You know?
It's funny because like I'll go to other, play some other guitars and stuff, and I always come back to my Reverends. Always come back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a good product.
There was a
cool.
guy in a band that we played in, and he had 2 Reverends.
Yeah.
And we kicked him out, and I'm sorry about that. But I liked him though. But he loved his Reverends, man. I'm telling you, we got to go up to Toledo and see that place.
Yeah.
We totally do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. What do I have going on? I've been playing around with. I've been working on this bass, getting it fixed up. My bass player in my band's I was working on the nut last night, and he had this weird thing where the stock nut in the bass. He's got a Fender Jazz. I think it's called the Jazz Luck. It's the one with the active pickups, and it's got an EQ on the settled on the knob. And it's a really nice bass, but the nut in it is, if he plays it, he plays pretty hard. He's like slap plucking, like
So he slap plucks his nut.
yeah, exactly. Slap plucking
Hard on his nut.
really hard. That's the problem.
Really hard on his nut.
Yeah, and his A string always pops out of the seating, which is real. And so I'm like, dude.
I hate it when it pops out.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, I can you fix this? And I was like, yeah, man, I can fix that. And there's since I found a couple other things that need fixing up, so that's cool. But it's great because I do a Clash tribute, and I also do a Johnny Cash tribute. And for the Cash tribute, he is able to give this it's like a proper slap bass
Right.
effect on this Fender Jazz. Like he just does it really well. Anyway, so I need to make sure that he continues to do that. So all I did, I got a slab nut, and I also realized that I don't really have. I've done a couple nuts before, and I've gotten away with it, but not from a slab.
You got nut files?
No,
Man, it is hard to do that.
but
with
I
nut
did it,
files.
and I nailed it, dude.
Man,
I have got some needle files, which it's not ideal, but I was able to get it done. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna mess this up, and I didn't. And I got it. And essentially, what I had to do was I had to find a slab that was the correct thickness, because I really didn't want to try to sanding the thickness of the nut is I think is trickier, because it's way easier to mess that up. And if you go too thin, it's just gonna wobble and fall out and break, and then you got to start all over.
Yeah, some come uneven from the factory anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's
Yeah, I got a Graphtec Tusk nut, and
opinion. I despise Tusk.
Do you?
I hate it so much.
why?
It's very brittle. It's supposed to sound like ivory. Maybe I shouldn't say this on a microphone, but I've purchased legal ivory before to make guitar saddles and stuff. And this is a long time ago. I don't do it anymore. But
elephants.
the Tusk doesn't sound anything, not even remotely close to the
Yeah.
real deal.
Well, the other thing to do is get bone, but bone's pretty brittle too.
Well, not nearly as brittle as Tusk. And Tusk, like, when you sand that, if you inhaled that dust, you need to go see a doctor.
Really?
Like, that stuff is... Bone dust is terrible for you, but Tusk dust, it's like a ceramic.
Thanks for telling me now.
Yeah, it's
Standing for 2 hours last night.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is
man.
rough.
Anyways, so
Sorry.
Thanks for that. I think.
Well, we're all here for.
Yeah. So.
There it is.
I got it all fixed up, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I nailed this without spending $60 on nut files. Mm-hmm. I don't have anything against Nuevo. I know a lot of people do, whatever, just because people are like, oh, it's so expensive. But it would be nice to have those. I would love to have a set.
In the
of those.
future, I have a wide assortment of nut files.
Do you?
So my
I'll
girlfriend
hit
dumped
you
me
up.
11 years ago, and I spent like $400 on
That's what
doodads
you
at
spent?
Stu Mac. But then we got married like a year later. So
Oh,
yeah,
regrets.
10 years coming up.
No,
this
I'm
summer.
not saying you're regretting your marriage, sir.
Oh, no.
I didn't say that. Anyways, okay. So that's what I was doing and that's one of those things that you're like, all right, I'm gonna throw the old Premier League soccer on and they're like, holy, it's 2:00 in the morning.
Dude, people don't realize how much involvement there is in doing that kind of project.
It is fun. It's pretty fine work.
Yeah, it is, man. So yeah, I admire you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate your admiration for that. All right. So in our Totally Not studio, we've got Jimmy Nielsen, the Dutch Mexican. And,
Danish Mexican.
the Danish Mexican. Oh, yeah. That was oh, geez. I messed that one up.
What would the food taste like if you mashed that together?
I don't know.
Open face sandwiches with chorizo or something. I don't know, it might be. There's probably some fusion you could get in there somewhere. You know,
Potatoes, right?
potatoes.
No mashed potatoes. I'm thinking of Danish again. Oof, sorry.
No, Danish is right.
Yeah,
Danish is right.
Danish.
What about a cheese Danish that was like, what's the
Queso
cinnamon
fresco.
thing that they do?
The churros,
Yeah, like a
churro
a
Danish.
churro Danish. Yeah.
That'd be all right.
That might not be bad.
No, see, when I went there, I actually had Carlsberg on like that. Oh man, that was so good there. And I had Soul, like actual good Soul, not fake Soul. You know, like if you get here and it says like Soul, it's probably not Soul. It's probably flounder, but whatever. And mashed potatoes, and that was like my Danish
That was your meal. Now, did you ever eat for breakfast skiver?
No.
So that it's like the little looks like donut holes. But it has more of a consistency like pancakes, and then they'll put like strawberries and powdered sugar on it and stuff like that.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
When you lived in California, did you ever go to Solvang?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You.
Yeah.
You got to get there's so many things. So many things. We need a California show. Solving. Jeez. Okay. So anyways, we got Jimmy here. And I am trying to... Jimmy and I connected a little while back. I was really intrigued with the pedals that I was seeing from El Rey. Partially because of the sense of humor. I appreciate a good sense of humor. And, I saw the Lucha fuzz pedal, and, the knobs, or the headlock.
Oh, yeah, for the
Yeah.
the descriptions. We got the grapple, headlock, and pile driver.
Right. And I was like, I like this guy. I haven't met him, but I like him. And then I checked out your site, and I was like, this is awesome. He's like, I can totally relate to this stuff. And I think you had a good range of products. You're not obviously a super mass producer.
No.
This is not your full-time line of work, right?
No, this does not. Health insurance, where the big boy job is too good to give up, and who knows wherever this will go. But for right now, it's a lot of fun. We meet some good people, and,
Yeah. But you got, for not having it be the thing that you do. I think the products that you had, and the way that you have them, as far as like aesthetically and everything. I was like, this is legit stuff, and that's got to be tricky to do. So we'll get into that. But Jimmy was kind enough to send us a couple pedals to play with. 2 fuzzes. We have the El Muerte.
Fuzz de la Muerte.
Fuzz de la Muerte.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Such a good
Just
name.
rolls off your tongue.
Yeah. Fuzz de la Muerte.
Fuzz de la Muerte.
And then the
Lucha Fuzz.
Lucha Fuzz. And so really quickly, you want to just talk about those two, and then we'll kind of get into what your deal is.
Yeah, I mean, two really different fuzzes.
Could you translate De La Morte as well?
Of the Dead.
Of the Dead.
Of the Dead.
Oh, it's so good.
So if you think of like Halloween, which is coming up very soon,
Yeah.
you know, in Mexico we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead. So this is the Fuzz of the Dead.
So rad.
That is very cool.
You know,
It's a killer name.
The hardest part about building the pedal is getting the souls to put into it.
Right.
Those are expensive, even on the internet.
You know, soldering and resistors and caps, you know, that's all cheap and stuff. But souls, you know, you thought ivory was expensive.
You can't be easy dealing with the devil, man.
Souls have a longer shelf life.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
So the Fuzz de la Muerte proudly was actually featured in Guitar Player magazine as the editor's pick.
That's awesome,
So
man.
that's kind of my little, you know, I wave that flag as much as I can because for a small builder, you know, to get that kind of recognition. To this day, I still thank those guys so much for, you know, considering us when you're going up against Boss and, you know, and all the big players that are out there, you know, to get a nice mention like that. I mean, it was just great.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, Boss is one thing, but think about like you got, I mean, the field of what are now big players is daunting.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's incredible who's out there, and you know, and the guys that start out small that you know grown to the level of to where they're major now. I mean, right here in Ohio, give a shout out to you know the guys in Earthquaker.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just put out some incredible stuff.
Yeah.
You know, as to where you know, a number of years ago is kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. So the fact that we can you know be distinguished. You know, in that large field that's
deal.
out there, it was really cool. It was really cool.
I'd like to say something that supports the editor's pick with that pedal. And I'm not a fuzz guy by any means. I've never had a fuzz pedal ever until I demoed this. And for not being a fuzz guy, I found it very understandable. It was very easy to use. You have all those different
It's a lot of
choices.
controls. Yeah.
It's a lot of controls.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with it. Even not being a normal fuzz guy. So I wanted to say that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's a nice thing about that because there's so many controls on it, although you would think that would make it even more difficult to try to dial it in, but it does give you more options to, you know, like you said, if you're not a fuzz guy, roll it back a little bit, just give you a little bit extra gain. I'm not sure if you played with the gate on it, but you roll that gate down, and now you're getting that almost dying battery kind of sound where you're cutting your notes off.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and
Cool.
you can get some really cool different sounds out of it. And then the color switch on it really changes the EQ shift on it.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
right there.
and you really notice it. It's not, some of these, it's a kind of subtle shift and stuff, but that one, it'll really change the EQ on it. So that's my baby, and that's the one I'm most proud of. And between that one and one that I didn't send you guys, the Mystic, which is the one that has the Ouija board graphics on it. Those are our two best sellers. Yeah, and and I think
over the Lucha.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, yeah. The Lucha did really good the first year that I came out with it, but I think the Mystic and the Fuzz de la Muerte really have really surpassed it.
Right. Why do you think that is?
You know what? And it's half of the reason that these have the graphics that they have on it is because I'm the kind of guy, I like stuff that looks cool.
Right.
And you got the school out there, and I've seen it on blogs, and I've seen the trolls on my own pages and on my videos and everything. You put all this time into the graphics, but how does the pedal sound? It probably doesn't sound good. You get these people that make these comments without ever actually playing it. They're just making a judgment call on that.
Yeah.
I don't
Guitar
care.
players.
I don't care if it doesn't say anything on it, as long as it's okay. Well, that's good. That's you.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not my market, and that's cool, man. You want to go and scrape off the picture from the top? All right, whatever. That's what you know.
Yeah.
But I've got something on my pedal board, and we all do it as guitarists. You go see a band playing at a show. What's the first thing you do? You go up on stage. It's like, oh, what's he got on his board? Up there?
Right.
And then. So you got something that looks like a Ouija board or a luchador, you know, head sitting on it. It's like, what the heck is that thing?
Yeah.
You know,
It's
that's
so
cool.
recognizable.
You know, it pops. You know,
Yeah.
so that's my thing. It's just like, you know, to me, it's kind of one of those guys that do custom guitar paint jobs and stuff, or you know, put some graphics on it. I think the graphics grab your attention visually.
Yeah.
But then you play it and it's like, oh, wait, this is actually a good sounding pedal. You know, this actually sounds good. So. It both looks good, sounds good, you know. And the other thing that I've tried to do is really make it, you know, keep them at an affordable price. You get some of these guys, custom builders out there, and I've been told by a lot of guys, you're too cheap. Your stuff, you're not charging enough. You're not charging enough. You need to. And I'm like, you know what? Half the reason I started this, you know, well, for one, when I even started building pedals at all or messing with guitar electronics, because I grew up poor. You know, now granted, these still aren't you know that cheap, you know, but comparative to some of the other pedals that are in the market, it's on the more affordable spectrum.
Oh yeah, you can get into like over 200 on a pedal, like so quick.
You know, you can get up to 300 on some of these, you know, and you have to, you know, it's like, you know, and I start looking at, you know, well, me personally, I look at the circuit like, well, I'm just going to go build that for about $30, you know, and you know, but. And granted, some people put some real time into it and they do some research and stuff. But
well, speaking of research, tell me about that. So when you're building the pedal, sort of kind of grab things.
No,
here,
do it, dude.
Do you have like a breadboard where you're taking the parts and you're experimenting, or what does that process look like for you?
Most of those start off as a breadboard. So kind of, you know.
A breadboard, for those of you who don't know, is like you can stick electrical parts and mock up a circuit.
You mock up kind of the circuit, the way it's going to sound on just an open board.
Like you used to get a Radio Shack.
Exactly.
Yes.
Used to get at Radio Shack.
Used to.
Is Radio Shack
They're
even
done.
in operation anymore?
I think they just do cell phones or something.
I don't know.
The retail stores are done.
I'm glad I'm as old as I am. You can go to Radio Shack and buy diodes and capacitors and
well, and that's, you know, I'll get to that in a bit, but you know, getting to like as far as breadboarding, so pretty much it'll be like have an idea for a certain sound. Like I really like the way this pedal, you know, I like this pedal, but you know, I wish the tone was a little bit more like this, or I wish it had a little more gain or a little less gain. So from that, and I tell everybody this, there's not a pedal builder out there that's revolutionary. Nobody's doing anything today that hasn't already been done. You know, anybody that goes out and says, "Oh, you know, I just created this," no, you didn't. No, you didn't, because the circuits are all the same. You know, it's like a chili cook-off.
Yeah.
You know, I might use a little bit of, you know, cinnamon and paprika, and he's using black pepper and, you know, chile poblano or something like that. You know, we're all putting our own spices into it, but at the end of the day, it's chili.
Yeah.
right.
You know, a fuzz pedal's you know, now granted, you got silicone versus germanium, and you got
the great debate.
You know, you got op amps, and you got this, and you got,
Must be German.
you know, you know, and is it new old stock? You know, it's like, I found this down in my basement, and you know, this is the coveted, you know, 3554 XZ49, you know, and. You know, at the end of the day, what sounds good to your ear is what sounds good to your ear.
Amen, brother.
You know,
Seriously.
and it's one of those things to where it's like, you know, these are all tuned to my ear. You know, I go changing the resistors and caps while I'm breadboarding to kind of, I like this, you know, no. And I try to play kind of like we were talking with the different pickups with the rail hammers. So I'll play it through my guitar that's got the rail hammer. I'll play it through my Jaguar. I'll play it through, you know, a hollow body. And it's like, okay, how's it going to sound with these? And granted, certain pedals, you are designing it for a certain type of music.
Sure.
You know, but then in the general sense, it's like, okay, if this guy was using this pedal, how would it sound? You know, how's it sound going through a Vox? How's it sound going through an Orange? How's it sound going through a Marshall? You know, and so trying those different things, you get a good idea, of where that's going to be. Ultimately, where do you decide? For me, for my company, it's me and my ear. That's based, this is my ear as to where I think it sounds good. And even on my own specific pedals, I've got certain settings that I like, and I'll see people using my pedals, and they've got it tweaked a whole different. I'm like, oh, why do you have it set like that? That's a terrible setting.
Yeah.
Do you have multiple amps at home that you test?
I have. Yeah. Yeah, I've got an OR100. I've got a vintage modern Marshall. I've got a Vox AC30. I've got a PV Classic 50.
Yeah, those are underrated. Those are great.
Yeah,
I love the PV Classics. That's probably the only PV I really like.
When you're a guy at home, building this stuff, you have to have all those amps, and that's why I have.
Well, that's
Right.
my justification for my wife. Actually, it's what let me start this business because, I'm jumping around a bit and stuff. But the way I started, I always had a pedal that I had built a long time ago. And it was just like a little boost and stuff. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of mine was always like, oh, man, Jimmy, you got to make me one of those boosts. I'm like, dude, I made this so long ago. I can't remember what I put in it. And, And it's like, dude, make me one of those boosts. Make me one of those boosts. Make me one of those. All right. So I'm like, and bringing Radio Shack into it. Well, let me go to Radio Shack and see if I can still get these parts. So I open it back up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, I remember how I built this. Yeah. So I go, and it's like Radio Shack has nothing that I needed,
And the people there don't know what you're talking about anymore either.
They've got no idea.
Damn kids.
Back in my day when Radio Shack sold resistors.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, all right, where am I gonna get this stuff? So I look online. I'm like, oh, there's places like Mouser, and there's places like DigiKey. So I was like, oh, there's this whole, all these resources where you can get this stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. So you get on there and you order some parts. I'm like, I might as well buy enough to build a couple if I mess one up or whatever. So I build him, and he's playing with it. And then all of a sudden, another buddy of mine, dude, how come you made so-and-so a pedal? And I told you I wanted one too. And I'm like, what? He's like, dude, just make me one. All right, So that kind of started me building. And one buddy of mine was like, he's like, man, you should sell these things. And I'm like, the market's flooded. You got Devi Ever out there, and you got all these other, builders. Like, dude, nobody wants. He's like, I might make a couple bucks, selling these. I'm like, all right, whatever. So a buddy of mine is actually a really good pinstriper and painter. And actually right now he's gotten real popular.
I noticed your stand-up bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah,
that's how I knew. That was the key. When I was watching that video, I was like, that dude's got a pinstripe stand-up bass. He's got to be from California. No joke, I swear.
So my buddy, shout out to Donnie Conrad with Sovereign Runes. But so he's gotten really huge in the chopper scene because he does like the old school flake and stuff like that. But back in the day, before he was doing any of that, I was like, hey man, will you paint a couple of these enclosures for me? And we'll do like some cool little pinstripe. And I was like, oh yeah. So he did one with a pinstripe. He did another one with a rat fink on it and stuff. And we kind of started like that. And it's like, you know what? I think people would like these with some different images on it and stuff. So we kind of combined, taking just some unique images, like what's kind of cool that I like, and growing up in Southern California, we've got the Day of the Dead influence, the luchador stuff, and just that whole kind of, Mexican influence, so it's, and it's kind of kitschy and stuff, but it's like, we'll have fun with it, Well,
it's a weird thing too, because the hot rod culture and that mixed together is like, they're.
Oh, it's
a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes hand in hand. So I'm like, all right, let's put some cool images on it. Let's try to design some cool circuits that sound good and see where it goes, And luckily still got friends out in California, and it's like, yeah, man, make me one like this and stuff and put this image on it. And then, okay, let's do it, So we actually started off doing a lot of custom images. And it got to the point where I'm like, it was so difficult to try to do so much custom stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to just standardize on something. And then if somebody wants something custom, we'll work around that. So it kind of changed gears. All of a sudden, we came out with the standard images. we started picking up dealers. We had, started with some dealers in California and then some online stuff. And, now we've got, gosh, I don't even know what the total number of dealers that we have. But, I mean, we're selling in the Netherlands and Germany and the UK and Australia, South Korea, Indonesia. I mean, we've got a global presence now that we never had, and it just took off. It was just a really weird thing. It's just how all of a sudden it just got, really popular, and it's maintained. So, it's been a fun trip. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a great story, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you got so give us the difference on the Lucha.
So the Lucha is actually op amp versus the silicone, which is in the Fuzz de la Muerte. And so it's based off of an old op amp fuzz that I had from the 70s, and kind of the same thing. So that pedal always had a cool tone to it, had a really cool tone. And I found schematics for the original one, and I built it based on the schematics, and it never sounded like the one I had. So I was like, well, what's different in it? What's different? So let me go look at the board. So I start probing, and taking actual measurements on the resistors and stuff. Well, something that's 30, 40 years old, doesn't have the same, settings that it was originally built for. But now it sounds good. So with a little bit of tweaking, and obviously the math's got to work out as far as in the circuit and stuff. But basically what I did is I took the values that I measured as opposed to the values that it was supposed to be, and built the circuit like that.
Oh.
So it's using the those resistors and caps and those values based on the worn in pedal as opposed to a brand new one.
Aha.
I want to
and
ask you something here. Could it?
That's a setup. Now let me ask you something here.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
the company that made that, what was that company called again? The 70s company?
Of that pedal?
Of the one that you base that on.
Oh my gosh, what was it? There was like a weird UK company.
Okay. What if they bought parts that had loose industry standards and
It's like plus or minus 10% back then, anyways.
Well,
right?
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what if, you know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to bring that up because that goes in. I mean, that applies to a lot of different things of the past. But I think it's really cool that the one you had and the one you like, you actually. It's cool how that came out of something that, you had back then.
Right.
That very particular pedal.
Right. And actually, yeah, you could. So if you look at the tolerance, if it's plus or minus 1%, 5%, 10%, is true on a lot of the older.
Yeah, Fender amps from the 60s are plus or minus 10%.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
And that's why, and still to this day, I mean, I think most of us that are geeks is like, it's pretty rare that I'm going to buy an amp online
Right.
that I've
You
never
gotta hear
played.
it.
Exactly.
I have to hear it.
You got to
because-
go to the guitar store.
The same reason that you can have 5 Telecasters sitting right in front of you, and you'll only know that one of them's right.
Right.
For you.
Yeah, I always hated when you go to GC or something like that, and you find the one that you like, and it's like, all right, yeah, cool, I'm going to take this, and you get the young salesman. Hold on, we got a new one in the back. It's in the box. Nobody's ever played it. I'll bring it. I'm like, no. I want this one. This is the one I want.
Yeah.
Don't give me any more to play.
Yeah.
I want this.
I want this one. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
And so you also have you got one called a Billy Jack,
Billy Jack.
and that has a overdrive in it, right?
No, it's just that one tonally is actually more. I don't want to say it's for bass because I know a lot of guitar players that use it, but
Yeah.
it is the frequency of it is just it's a lot lower frequency.
Okay.
So you can't really increase the. You're not going to make that one sound any higher, with any treble or anything.
Okay.
It's made to just sound low, and if you play Doom, that's the pedal right
Okay,
there.
yeah.
It's the old Billy Jack.
Yeah.
But that one, the name came from, for some of us older guys.
Sure.
So I'm going to take my right foot, put it across your left cheek, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
Yeah. And that one's got, again, your graphics game is on point. It's
Little jackalope.
Yeah, the jackalope. And then I think one of the things that I found interesting was the Chicago typewriter, which I love the name of a Chicago typewriter as a tremolo.
That is really
That's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And you had the graphics are great on that one. I think it's the girl with the machine gun, right?
It's a girl with it, and so you got the gun nerds out there, which I got guns and stuff like that. It's like, she's not holding it's not a Tommy gun. It's a
Right.
blah blah. Yeah. I'm like, it's a cool pinup chick holding a machine gun. Stop your complaining,
Yeah.
And what's funny is actually we changed graphics on that one because we had a customer. He found Winston Churchill holding a Tommy gun.
That's awesome.
And he's like, will you put this on there? And I'm like, all right. I looked it up. The image is public domain and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, if somebody's gonna bitch, they're gonna bitch, whatever. So I did it for him, and then somebody, like, I posted it on social media somewhere, like, I just did this custom. I was like, oh, that's a cool image. That's a cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe we'll start. So we switched over to the Winston Churchill. So
that's a whole other thing. It's like, yeah, you have that image on the De La Muerte pedal. You got the one on the Lucha pedal, and but you potentially could have 5 different luchadors on that,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that one could have
Collect all 5.
Yeah, collect all 5.
It's like,
yeah.
So you've created like niches within your niches, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
I love
London
that.
typewriter.
Yeah.
Do the young kids know what a typewriter really is?
Yeah. Well, yeah. For those that don't know what a Chicago, let's give a history lesson real quick. The Chicago typewriter was the slang name for the Tommy gun back in the
thing with the big
late
gun
30s.
with the big round dealie in the bottom of it.
All the mafia guys would use it.
Yeah,
Can of tuna.
The
on
old
bottom of it.
school. Yeah.
can of tuna. Yeah. So that was called the Chicago typewriter.
Now look here. I'm going to take this Chicago typewriter.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what now.
It's the gun that the guy in Home Alone has in the black and white movie.
Right.
I'm going
Right.
to give you to the count of 10.
Yeah.
To get your lousy, no good keister
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah.
1,
They were also used a lot in World War II.
10.
So, anyways, this is a history podcast.
History cast.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Well, the tie-in with
Had to
that
finish
is one. Okay, so the tremolo sound has that, and
Yeah.
I related that to the machine gun. But down in Cincinnati, across from the river in Kentucky, is the Southgate House. And the Southgate House was actually the birthplace of the guy that invented the Tommy gun. So Southgate House is a great venue. They've since changed. Now it's Southgate House Revival. It's not in that mansion. It's in a church now. So where the original mansion was, they had a shot called the Tommy gun. And it was pickle juice and whiskey, or no,
Lord.
Jameson whiskey and pickle juice.
That's a thing, though. That's like a legit thing. out there.
It's great.
I like whiskey a lot, but pickle juice. That
Have you not had that?
Sign me up, man.
Oh, you
I
gotta-
will try that.
Oh, you got to try
Huh.
it. And that was one. So I saw that, and I was like, oh yeah, Tommy gun. I'm like, oh, Chicago typewriter. I'm like, oh wait, that's kind of cool. That's
Yeah.
a good name for a tremolo. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I
genius.
saw that, and I just got a big smile because I really appreciate wit, and I was like, that's smart. You're not just doing something because like, yeah, this looks really cool. It's like you've got a heavy dose of wit in your product.
Right.
It comes through you. You obviously appreciate that, and I do. So I was like, I got to get this guy to show. So are you cooking up anything new?
We've got a couple that I've had a phaser breadboarded, and there's a friend of mine out in California, Chris, will probably listen to this and be like, yeah, when am I getting it? Because I promised him he's getting the first one. The thing is, though, the sales have been so not overwhelming, but has kept us so busy that my time for breadboarding and coming up with new pedals it's been tough to try to get those out.
Aside from your big boy job.
And apart from that too. And the thing is also is that I don't want to I try to take my time and make sure that, what I put out sounds good, and I have to, now I've already kind of established with the graphics and the that part, it's got to all tie in together.
Sure.
So I've got some ideas for the phaser and stuff, and that's probably that's the closest one. But also we're doing a neat oscillating fuzz. Because I had a friend that does some keyboard stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you should do an oscillating fuzz and stuff." So I've been messing with a couple different circuits like that. And
that'll come in handy in your new band.
Yeah, so that'll have some fun. But so I'm building some prototypes actually with that oscillating fuzz right now and stuff. And I'm going to get those into some hands of actually just talking with Dave from Red Fang. And they're going to be coming through Chicago in December. So
cool.
While they're on tour, I'll get him one of those. And so those are really the two that are in the works. We've got a boost that I took off the market, and I'm kind of reworking it. Tough thing with boosts, a lot of people do them and stuff, and and it's kind of, how do you differentiate yourself with a boost,
right?
And everybody's liked ours, but the thing is there's so many other ones that are already out there.
And it's a utility. It's very much a utility kind of a thing. Yeah. So,
but the one that we build though, it's a nice one to where I've had guys to where they like the tone with the boost kicked on. So he's like, all right, I need a boost for my boost because now I just like that tone,
right?
Just a little, because it's obviously not.
You get color on the tone.
You get a really good little color on it. You're just, it's just a little bit of extra gain, kind of like what you were saying with the tube screamer earlier, but not even to that level. It's just a hair above it, just to kind of give it an extra little bit of drive.
Yeah. The guys on that pedal show did a really good. Their show is ridiculously good, but I bought my first boost pedal. I managed to get through life without a boost pedal for a long time. But then I was like, crap, I need a boost pedal. Like, I actually legitimately need one right now. And I haven't wanted to spend money on that because I have a problem spending money on utility things.
Yeah.
Their show is really helpful in hearing all the differences in the color. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this one made it like really dark, or this one made it almost brittle sounding when you cranked it up. So it was like, that was really helpful. Boosts are tricky like that. But if you can figure out something that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the name I went with that one, and again, if you're not Chicano or you're not from the, those, Southern California, South Texas or whatever area, nobody ever gets it. So it's kind of one of those, it's like, it wasn't a faux pas, but it was kind of like, all right, I need to just be a little bit more. So the name of it was Más Huevos. So huevos, the average, so you get it. It's more balls.
That's great, man.
But, some people are like, more eggs, and it's like, why is it more eggs? And I'm like, no, it's más huevos, más
He's
huevos.
trying to be like a Dan Electro pedal.
You have no white marbles.
Yeah.
So we're probably I'm doing some little tweaks. I'm not doing too much tweaks because I was actually really happy with the boost, but we're just going to try to do something to kind of differentiate it, from some of the other ones out there. And we'll reintroduce that one.
Cool. Well, yeah, keep us posted on that. When you get stuff and you're ready to let it fly, man.
Oh yeah.
Let me know. We'll give a shout out on it, and
heck yeah.
Maybe we can run a promo on the site and stuff for you and whatever.
That'd be great.
So yeah, are there? I know that one of the things that you said was, people who are building pedals, they're not building anything new, right? And totally valid statement. It's all about your own fingerprint, right? I'm curious to hear, like, because you're all kind of using somewhat the same parts. I liken pedals very much to food. I love cooking. Like I'm a mad chef. Like every day is Iron Chef in my house because I'm like, what have I got? And I go crazy, right? And the thing is like when something new gets introduced, when a chef starts using something that's totally new, nobody's been using this, right? Like seaweed extract, I don't know, or quail eggs.
Right.
It's like, then all of a sudden you start seeing that all over the place because it was legitimately something that was new that people hadn't thought of or doing or, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Do you see anything? Are you familiar with anything that might be a new ingredient, or is there something that you would like to see change dramatically?
Well, I think, it gets tough because obviously everything I do is analog. It's standard, old school circuitry that we're putting into it. Really where you're seeing all the changes is in the digital stuff. And that's where I think you're seeing more changes, and because programming, now your imagination is, endless as far as what you can do to try to, manipulate that sound. Because that's all ultimately that's what we're doing. We're manipulating the sound in some way. Are we, changing the frequency? Are we changing the gain? Are we, how are we manipulating that sound? And through analog devices, you do kind of run into a roadblock of like, all right, there's only so many different ways I can change it this way before the introduction of some kind of digital chip, Now, once you bring in that digital in, and then you get the whole argument of, how's that, versus, what am I really doing here? But again, that's, depending on your musical style.
What about like the physical components? Like, having built a couple myself, and obviously when anybody who has pedals, there are definite things that I think you start to say like, I like this kind of input jack. I like this I like the way this switch works. Or
right.
It's like I wish this mini toggle had a blah blah, right? Anything like that you're like, man,
They're obviously like with the a lot of the potentiometers, which are used for the tone and volume and whatnot. I've seen some new companies starting to come out with some different stuff where you're able to get a little bit different kind of sweep, as far as for your tone control or some other the controls like that. Plus, and just the way that they're built. Certain ones, they'll start getting scratchy on you after a year or so if you're not using good, good parts for that. So that technology's kind of changing a little bit. It's getting a little bit better, a little bit more resistant. But at the end of the day, it's push buttons and a resistor. A resistor's a resistor. There's not too much that you're
Yeah, what's the difference between a germanium and a not germanium? I don't know.
Well, those get into the different as far as the alloys and metallurgies and stuff that are used to make them and for the transistors and stuff. But like an op amp, like the 4558. It's like, oh, does your tube screamer have it? Does it have this serial number, blah blah blah, in it? So if you actually open up the Lucha or my Mystic, the op amps that are in there are actually in the like little chip holders.
Yeah, we did. I opened it up and replaced it with all down electro parts.
Oh.
But
So. Somebody is savvy enough, you can change those chips out for different chips and kind of play with your tone a little bit like that. So in those particular pedals, you are able to do that. I don't really, advertise that.
Alchemy. We just interviewed a dude from Alchemy Audio, and their whole thing is modifying that stuff. So if you do have a pedal and you want to do what Jimmy's talking about, hit up alchemyaudio.com. They'll help you out. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another way. A lot of builders. That's where to this day still like I've got tube screamers, and I've tweaked the heck out of them. They're nothing like they originally ever started and stuff. But it's kind of like I wanted to do this. I want to
It's crazy how many different tube screamers there are. That you could just buy at the store without
That
even
is
buying.
true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a zillion of them.
But even there, so let's talk about that real quick. Like, there are a few things like the Boss pedal, the Tube Screamer, and a handful of like really old pedals that are drastically different from an aesthetic and functionality standpoint. Right, the big pad on the Tube Screamer, the entire like hinge on the Boss, like the angled pedals. Little John does a lot of really cool angled stuff, and or not Little John. I botched that one up. It's Little John. Little John FX, right? No, that is the Little John. Damn it. Gotta edit that, bastards. What the vacuum? The vacuum guy just turned on here. No, I refer to the Little John because that was the first one I saw by that company. It's on the tip of my tongue. Australian.
Well, did you
company.
see the new wah pedal that came out that's built into your shoe?
Yeah, Converse.
Yeah.
I want one.
About that.
Well, exactly, because you got a cord now going into your shoe.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's real. I think that was like a fake.
You think it was a fake, but I didn't
Advertising
look that deep into it because
I
I'm just
bet
kind of like,
I bet it works, but who in the hell is going to walk around with cords in their shoes?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you'd have to get two different cordless units, right?
Yeah.
Tape the units on your leg, under your pants.
I think
You have
it's
to
just
rip
a
the tape
marketing
off.
gimmick.
it does not really allow for jamming on top of the bar
No.
when you're rocking out
Right.
and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, no.
There's no freedom. You're shackled.
Yeah. Wah.
There it is.
That's funny.
I got a wall pedal, and it's got a built-in boost on it. And I don't think I've ever used it ever. I'm serious. It's one of those WAP. It's a newer one. And I'm sorry, I don't know the brand, but it's one of them that have the laser. Yeah, the
Morley?
optical. Morley. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a Morley, and it's got the little boost. And I went to my buddy's guitar shop back home, where I still buy most of my stuff because I like to go in the guitar shop because I'm an old man. And he's like, "Hey man, this has a boost on it." I'm like, "All right, man, give me the boost." I don't even use the damn boost. I don't know. I just like the Tube Screamer. I don't know. I'm obviously not a proficient pedal guy, but I don't know. I think I have enough. I like it. I like the pedals. And I might hit you up for one of those.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
For you guys listening, you really need to Google these pedals. They look so freaking
They
cool.
look cool. They sound cool.
Yeah.
Easy to use. They're really awesome. And
Thanks, guys.
when you see an El Rey pedal somewhere else, you're gonna know it's an El Rey. I mean, the graphics alone are pretty cool. Like the wrestler guy there.
Days of
It
Tronics.
creeps me out.
I think that was one of them.
Definitely
It
Walmart.
feels good when you find out what you're looking for.
Yeah, but I think that's
Definitely Kmart.
Yeah.
Definitely Kmart.
Damn it, I'm gonna regret not knowing. I sound like an idiot right there. I
What's
try really
Kmart?
hard not to. Damn it. Yeah. Okay. Man, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff. We can talk about. I would love to get you back on, especially when you get if you get those new ones out. Like we'll have you back.
We'll definitely come back.
It's nice having somebody from home state here. I think that was part of when I started putting the show together. It was really important to get people that are like you, that are like they're just doing it because they love doing it. And if something great happened, awesome. There's so many people that are doing those kind of small passion makerships, like Jared makes pickups, and Chris masters, and you're making pedals, and I'm just doing this.
You do rhythm.
And so discovering those people is an absolute joy. And so I'm super glad that we met and that you're on the show. We're gonna have our top 4 right now, and this one is, I'm still thinking about that damn pedal. God, son of I'll have to append this so I don't sound like a total idiot.
to hijack what you're saying, I think what's so cool about, even hearing your story, Jimmy, of just, it's encouraging to hear stories about people that were like, you know what I think is cool? This. I'm gonna start building them. I'm gonna start doing it, and then it becomes a business, and that's rad. Like that's the American dream. It's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's, I think, again, in this deal, like we're going back to what we were talking about earlier, the world is so small today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, things like this is so accessible, to where, I can get a powder coated, enclosure with the graphics that I want, printed onto it, and I create the circuit board on the inside and wire it all up. And, the fact that that's within reach of just, I don't have to buy, a bazillion of these to sell them. I can, it's something to where you can still, manufacture out of a garage.
And you're 5 clicks and a couple keyboard strokes away from 75% of the entire world, for them to find you. That's just, it's rad that you can have a niche and the world finds out.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So, and again, tying into the world thing, probably within the first year after I started this, I got an email from a guy from Luxembourg. Huh. And he's like, yes, I'm writing you from that Luxembourg, from that tiny little country in Europe that is really just a city, and I've got one of your pedals and it's really cool. So it's one of those surreal moments. You're like, okay, so I built this pedal in Cincinnati, Ohio.
How did it get over there?
Everything comes from Ohio, man.
And all of a sudden it ends up in Luxembourg,
Well, and what's cool, I'm getting all patriotic and whatnot here. You sold that pedal, and that pedal contributed to the GDP of the United States of America.
That's right.
You exported that. That's cool.
Feels good to export your product, man.
Well, but now hold on.
States.
It's technically a Mexican taking somebody's job.
I'm just
they took her job.
Oh man,
they took her job.
Oh man, but the tone is so huge.
Oh man, that is hilarious. Okay, 2 things.
Excuse me.
Did anybody?
Excuse me.
Wrong.
Top 4?
That's terrible. Yeah. Did anybody not think of Bucktooth Girl from Luxembourg when, as soon as he said Luxembourg? I was like, oh, the Bucktooth Girl from Luxembourg. No?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Also, Petty John Electronics. That's the name of the company. I knew I couldn't wrap this up without getting it right. Petty John.
God.
There you go.
Petty John.
Yeah, they got the angled front and the what's that? I don't know what that technique is called. It's like the orange peel aluminum.
You couldn't quite put your foot on it.
I can't put my finger on it. Anyways, whew. All right, top 4. Back to our top 4.
Do it.
Top 4.
Sorry, I hijacked that.
Okay, ready? Top 4. I'm gonna do an effect right there. Signature art. So an artist signature effect of choice. Now, that isn't a signature pedal. So we're not talking like JAHS stuff. We're talking about this artist uses an effect to the point where it is almost synonymous with that artist now. Doesn't have to be a name brand. If it is, cool, no big. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to know the model number, but it's just, that's what it is. Okay? Everybody ready?
Ready.
Okay, Jared.
I love Led Zeppelin. Love Jimmy Page.
This is true. You have a lot of Jimmy Page posters and stuff.
I love that stuff. I love it. I don't know why. I always have. I just love his style.
You and most of the rest of the world.
Guitar style. I know.
Yeah. No, that's good. No apologies, man.
Hey, the Theremin, man. What he did with the Theremin back in the day was totally rad. The Whole Lot of Love fair like at Madison Square Garden '73. Song remains the same. Whole lot of love.
Is that where you get the?
No, it's not. But right, and he waves his hands around with the thing, and with one hand he's doing that, and the other hand he's turning the stupid knob on the pyramid, and he's like, "Don't pay attention to my other hand. Look at what I'm doing here."
Yeah,
you know, that's my signature effect. Like when you hear that, you're like, "Oh, that's Jimmy Page. Whole lot of love."
Yeah. Okay.
That's my pick.
That's
of
a
the
good
week,
call.
man.
All right, I'll take it. I won't reject that.
Thank
Chris.
you.
So I don't really listen to much country. I do love Sturgill Simpson. If you guys have heard him, he's great. Anyways, I'm not going in that direction. Brad Paisley, don't judge me. I know this is not the key.
Dude, that guy's a badass
He
guitar
is.
player.
He is.
He's killer.
Badass.
He uses a pedal called the Wampler Ego Compressor.
Yeah.
And I am a mastering engineer by trade, so I like compressors.
I need more compressor knowledge. I am light on compressor knowledge. We need to talk more.
Indeed. I can help you meet your threshold.
Well
man.
done.
There it is.
I do what I can.
I knew you were going to crush that. Yeah, not so good.
Anyways, I have it. It's the Wampler Ego Compressor, and as a mastering engineer, like I said, the compressor is my tool.
Right.
That's the main thing. The main tool you're using in mastering. You're using like a billion of them. And the Ego Compressor does wet dry mix on compression.
I wish it was called something different. I wish the compressor was called something different because
It's a little confusing.
It's like the name doesn't necessarily fit what it
This
does.
is true. But anyways,
It's like if a knife was called the scooper.
it's true.
What?
It's true.
I mean, you can, I guess. Okay. Anyways.
Brad Paisley uses the Ego Compressor, and
Yes.
it's
And a massive amount of talent.
indeed. But the Ego Compressor can do wet and dry mix. So part of your signal is compressed, but it's also letting some uncompressed signal through as well, and you can control the ratio of the two. In mastering or in mixing, you call that parallel compression, and it is just buttery and gorgeous. So when I hear him play, especially when he's doing, a cool lead, to me immediately I'm like, that sounds like my Ego Compressor pedal, and I love parallel compression on
That's
everything.
super nerdy.
It is.
That's cool. Okay.
It's a great pedal.
I'm sitting here for going, what? What are you talking
Well,
about?
it's like, so the MXR compressor that everybody has, like you turn it up and it squashes everything and it sustains like crazy. With this thing, you turn it up and it just gets fat.
Oh, and Wampler makes some great stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes some great stuff.
I love that pedal. It's my favorite pedal.
I don't
But
mess with something
Okay.
like that.
it's
Yeah.
really cool. It's something where you can turn it up and get more compression, but you don't get that weird, like, okay, now I'm going to play an infinite sustained solo type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you could just it works great for rhythm as well as
Yeah.
lead. So it just makes it chunky.
So my compression pedal, I use and then I don't use and then I use and I don't use because I sometimes I feel stupid because I'm like, I think it's doing something. I'm pretty sure it is, but
Well, it's tricky because they're threshold based. So if you play a little too loud,
this is not the compression podcast, Chris.
Sorry, I'm hijacking. If you play a little too loud, it suddenly doesn't work ananymore.
Right.
But with parallel compression, there's a lot more forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's a
Because
normalizing thing, right?
to some degree, it like builds a concrete foundation underneath.
Here's what we're
your
gonna do.
tone.
Right.
We're gonna have a whole other episode, and when we did, like just kind of debunk or not debunk, but we're going to
Dissect.
Attack compression.
Compression.
yeah, we're just gonna learn
Sorry,
a little
the-
bit more about that stuff.
I'll shut up now.
No, you're fine. You are fine. So I was just tripping out. I had the trip out face because like all of a sudden my headphones were kind of cutting out. I was like, wait. Oh, please don't mess up the thing. So let's see. We got Jimmy.
So, probably going to sound like I'm cheaping out, but I don't care because we're just talking about signature effect sounds of an artist. And anytime I hear Unchained or Ain't Talking About Love, you hear that MXR Phase 90 coming through for Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. So that, to me, that's just that. As soon as it's,
yep.
And then Ain't Talking About Love, you know exactly what he's using, And granted, there is a signature model of it now, but prior to that, but to me, that's, you hear that and right away, you know exactly who that is. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I think for me, the big thing was when I heard when I heard Cherub Rock from Siamese Dream the very first time, I knew exactly where I was on exactly what street, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the fuzz hit me, and I loved it. And it wasn't like, it just sounded different. Now, granted, I know there's a whole lot of production going on that, a lot, right? But I was like, I got to know what that is. And so I'm going with the Hop Amp Fuzz. Whatever brand, whatever you like, that's fine. I believe his was, you can probably tell me for sure, but he using the green Russian?
It was, I believe it was a Russian, but I'm not sure which one.
Might have been black.
There's debate as to whether there was an op-amp version or not.
Okay.
Or there's a lot of debate on that.
Yeah.
As far as to which one. And I know supposedly he had actually gotten with Debbie Ever to like try to develop one, kind of to mimic that sound.
Uh-huh.
And I guess there was stuff and issues, and I don't know if it was on Debbie Ever's side or his side,
right,
as far as there was not happiness going on, and it never came to fruition. But actually the Lucha, like if you dial it in, I plugged that in. I was like, there we go. You can get that. You can get that sound out of the Lucha. It's.
Yeah. Well, in fact, when Chris came in, he wasn't privy to trying those out, and I showed him both. And I said, okay, so this one, fuzz, all kinds of good stuff on it, lots of trickery. This one is pumpkins. I was just like, right out of the box. It's like, it's a fantastic sound. It has all just the right, like I liked it.
Yep.
So pretty good. Did we do all right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We are out of here. Subscribe.
Yeah, and thank you for calling in to NBR.
And I'm Bob Boylan.
Oh, this has been great, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps it up for these knobs. Join us on Facebook on our group at facebook.com/groups/guitar knobs, and on Twitter at guitar_knobs. We're also on Instagram at guitar knobs, and on our website, theguitarknobs.com.